ready for takeoff.
We're cleared for takeoff.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time to take flight in your community and in your life. This is Audio Airstrike.
What's up, everybody? This is Audio Airstrike. I'm Everett Hall-McNeill. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 168. We appreciate you taking the time to listen. A lot to cover, a lot to get to, and with me, I have a special guest that's going to be covering a special topic, and it's very apropos as considering yesterday was International Women's Day. We salute all the women out there, far and wide, national, domestic, overseas, no matter where you're at. We salute you. You guys are very beneficial to the world, but you already know that.
Thank you.
With that being said, my guest at this time is a content creator. She goes by Belle Flower, and she is a great content creator. Ladies and gentlemen, with me at this time, Lauren Kennedy is with us. Thank you so much for coming on Audio Airstrike. First time, by the way. First time.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I wanted to get to probably the biggest news story of the week at this moment. We realized that the royal family may have confirmed. I'm gonna let y'all speculate. I think, from my biased opinion, I think there is, when there's smoke, there's fire. The royal family has been accused of racism. Meghan tells all, and Prince Harry tells all. I want to get to some questions for those of you who have not seen the full interview with Oprah. Wherever you can get that copy of that video, don't bootleg it, but wherever you can view that copy of that video, please do so and look at it. Long story short, man, the royal family basically cut security ties with Meghan and Harry. They ridiculed what the ethnicity or the complexion of their child would be. And when I say royal family, the reason why I'm saying royal family is because I don't know specifically. They didn't reveal specifically who it was, so we don't know, but we know they're in the royal family. The royal family actually cut communication with Harry in the first quarter of 2020. Wasn't even talking with him, wasn't even seeing him and stuff like that. Now, he has said later on that he has a good communication with his grandmother, but in terms of some of the other siblings, not so much. This is heavy, man. I was looking at some of the clips, and this is heavy, man. So we're going to get right into these questions. And Lauren, I just want your honest opinion. My first question on this subject is, how appalled are you that some people are accusing Meghan of lying about her mental health and some of the stuff that she went through mentally?
I think it's just crazy. I think anybody who works like a regular job experiences any type of stress or experiences a situation where they may feel like, okay, I may need to talk to someone on how to deal with this. I'm not necessarily handling this well by myself. And I think it's ridiculous that people don't even consider that somebody who's working a very high profile job, somebody who is essentially involved in a like years and a decades old institution and has to carry that representation on her back for that institution, has to be a positive reflection of that institution, has to constantly monitor the things that she says or the things that she does in the public eye. I think it's weird that people don't consider that she may have experienced several moments where she thinks this is all too much for me. Not to mention all the press covers, the negative press coverage she was getting. So I find it ridiculous that people could deny the fact that she may be experiencing mental health issues. That's a lot of pressure to be under for one person, especially someone who didn't grow up in that environment and someone who didn't get the protocol training that she should have had to be in that environment. So I was really angry about that someone would deny that she was having those issues. As a person who has a mental health issue myself, I have obsessive compulsive disorder. So as someone who has to deal with her mental issues on a daily, it was really frustrating to me to see someone else being denied that compassion.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you. The problem that I have with society is on one hand, we want to cancel somebody to look like somebody of moral, ethical, status. We want to sit here and cancel people and push people out the way when they do something wrong. But the second that somebody says, I'm going through this situation and I was dealing with mental health on my end and I'm going to tell my truth, we ridicule them. We sit over here and we just had International Women's Day and everybody was posting their photos about the women in their life that have influenced them, that have inspired them, that have encouraged them. But then we turn around and judge this high profile woman that is a mom that is trying to do her best to build a family at the same time she is a public figure. Right. And then for her mental health to be called into question around the time when we're celebrating women, it's a slap in the face. It's degrading, it's disrespectful, and somebody's got to really take a step back and look at their situation and go, like, what am I doing? Yeah. Why am I being so judgmental?
I also think that just also thinking about her and her being in the public eye and her status, I saw a lot of comments on social media about people wondering, well, why would she be sad? She's rich. She's a duchess. She has this prince as her husband. She has this perfect life. She was an actress at some point. And none of those things can fix or absolve what goes on up here. There's absolutely no way you could be the richest person in the world and still be stressed out, because that's just how your mind works. Like, none of these outside forces impact what goes on in your mind and in your heart. That's ridiculous to me too. Nobody is exempt from having mental health issues.
People need to understand, you can be the most richest person in the world. You can have everything you want in a man or a woman. Pick your type, you could have it. And still, even with the dream job, even with the dream career, you can have all that and still be unhappy. Yep. And people don't take that into account. Like, I'm sorry, materialism is not going to solve all your problems. I'm sorry. The happiness in somebody else is not going to solve all your problems. Where do you go to find the happiness within you? These are questions that everybody has when you're looking into these situations. Every time somebody wakes up, every time somebody looks up and goes, okay, I'm awake, there are questions unspoken that come up, decisions that you have to make throughout the day. And people are really just going around and just being hurtful.
Insensitive.
And very insensitive. Yeah, it's just baffling to me, because I'm sitting back there and I'm looking at the situation. I'm going, if this was you would want some type of compassion, especially a public figure. Especially a public figure. Like, you don't know the amount of DMs a public figure gets, both encouraging and disparaging. You don't know how many emails these people get with people hounding them, asking them for things. When I try to reach out to it, I'll be very transparent. I've tried to reach out to public figures on this show. I don't get offended when stuff falls through, because they have a lot on their plate, and I'm understandable of that. So one of the things that we have to do is do a better job at, and that's to start having some type of empathy for when people are seriously going through mental health. And I don't care what their tax bracket is. I don't care what car they rode up into. I don't care what name brand they carry. It's one of those situations where if we don't start paying attention to the mental health signs, we are going to lose people. And I hate to break it to some of y'all, and I'm not trying to get too morbid on this show. Some of the most wealthy places that you will find fortune is in the graveyard. You want to know why? Because a lot of people's lives got cut short that could have contributed more to this society. And we're not going to know what these other people could possibly do and how they can contribute to society if we are constantly pushing them over the edge mentally.
That's understandable.
We've
already lost people who have contributed a lot to the world.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's no discrimination on age. There's no discrimination on race when it comes to that. Mm-hmm. And speaking of mental illness and mental health and stuff of that nature, there may be possibly PTSD with Harry. Let's not forget who his mother is. His mother is still beloved to this day. She's been gone for almost more than 20 some years.
Yeah, there was just another documentary about her that came out last year about her struggles.
Absolutely. And the thing that I look at is this man is literally watching his wife go through the same pain, hardship, this and that Diana went through when he was 10 years old. You don't think that messes with his mind?
Yeah,
going through something like that?
I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I can't really I don't want to diagnose him on the show, but I could understand if that is something triggering to him. And I mean, and he has brought it up that he's been like, okay, this reminds me of the Australia trip that he and Meghan went on. He said that reminded him of what happened with his mother in Australia. He was like the press coverage that reminded him of what his mom was going through. So I would completely understand if he was experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder because he's been through a lot. And go ahead.
Oh yeah, you go ahead.
I was going to say he actually talked about being in therapy after his mother passed away. So
to bury your mom at 10 years old is nerve-wracking. I cannot even imagine being in that position that young and doing that. I didn't even really start going to funerals till I was a little bit older. So, you know, it's a very, very slippery slope. And there needs to be more apathy for him. The stuff that he goes through, and I know we were talking about Meghan earlier. I'm gonna switch it to Harry now. Let's unpack it. His bloodline is one of the most notable bloodlines in the world, not just one country, in the world. Mm-hmm. The second that kid was born, cameras were on him. Cameras been on this dude for 20 something years. Mm-hmm. If you're a clout chasing public figure, you're kind of jealous of him a little bit. And that's just a reality situation.
I could see that.
So there's a little bit, if somebody was just like a celebrity who just clout chasing and didn't give a crap about people and saw what he has, they would kind of be envious. But he's an everyday, the way he acts, the way he carries himself, he's an everyday average dude. Right.
Who he doesn't even like that type of from what he says, he doesn't even like that type of spotlight on him. He's never enjoyed
He's
it.
extremely intelligent, extremely humble, and just extremely grounded. But he does not care about this status and this. He understands the importance of it, but it doesn't make or break what he does, who he is as a person. And that's why I even respect him more. One, I got to commend him for standing by his wife.
Yes.
I have to commend him for that. He easily could have easily had not been sitting with her during that interview. He stood right beside her, or should I say, sat right beside her. And they both freely shared their emotion. And so I got to commend him for one, standing by his wife, and another thing is I got to commend him for still being so open after all these years, because I know that's not easy to talk about, especially when your topic of your mother comes up, because your mother is still beloved after 20 something years of being gone. You know what I mean? So it's a lot. I commend him for it. Lauren, what do you think?
No, I agree. I commend him for still being able to talk about that and share about that, because it probably never gets easy for him. And especially because it's probably a topic that he has to hear a lot, that people probably still ask him about his mother a lot. So I commend him for being able to talk about that. And I also commend him for standing by Meghan. And because, like you said, it could have easily been a situation of him being like, okay, even though divorce is still a taboo thing for the royal family, it could have easily been a situation of, this is too much for me. I have to divorce her. I have to separate myself from her. And he didn't do that. He chose to separate himself from his family instead and say, she is also my family. and she is important, and she's carrying my child, and she has my older son, my son now, and now she's carrying my daughter, and I have to remove her from this situation. So no, I definitely applaud him for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me ask you this, and I know this may be triggering for you. Can you point out moments where the royal family came off hypocritical publicly throughout this ordeal?
Yes. There were two examples I could think of. One, the press coverage, because in the past, when members of the royal family have been going through things in the press, they have stood up very quickly and tried to silence things. Like, for example, I think it was either last 2019 or 2020, there were a few rumors that started spreading that Prince William was cheating on Kate, the Duchess of Cambridge, with a family friend of Kate's. And so those rumors went away very quickly. I think less than a week, they were gone. They were handled. And so it's like, for someone who is going through a lot worse, like, for example, Meghan talked about Kate and the rumors that she had made Kate cry. And that was a very simple thing for you to squash. And it's like, I don't understand why they wouldn't squash that for her when you could intercede on everyone else's behalf. So I found that hypocritical. And I also found it the fact that they would not get her treatment for her mental health, and how they said it would look bad if someone from the royal family was going to see someone for their mental health. I'm like, that's a bit hypocritical, because throughout the royal family's history, like I said, Prince Harry was in therapy, Prince William was in therapy, Princess Margaret was in therapy. Just to name three people. Oh, Princess Diana was in therapy for postpartum depression. And she was going through her issues with eating disorders and things, and she was in therapy for that. So I don't understand why Meghan would make the royal family look bad for going to get mental health treatment when there's a clear history of this in your family. So I felt like that was a hypocritical thing.
Yeah, when it comes to family, you have to understand not every family gets along, but I'm saying in general, if you are really looking out for your family, mm-hmm. you cannot pick and choose mm-hmm. what family member you decide you want to help that day. If they're family, if they're carrying on the legacy, they're carrying on the last name, mm-hmm. help family. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we're picking and choosing what family members get what kind of treatment is very toxic. It's not helpful. You cannot pick and choose. This is not you pulling up at your favorite restaurant and picking and choosing what meal you want, and then picking the side order and then picking the drink. No. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If you're going to help somebody, help them. Mm-hmm. If that person's a part of the direct line in your family, help them. Exactly.
Especially when they've come forward to you and have said, I need someone to help. And have gone, like she said, Meghan said that she went to HR and was like, I need help. But they were like, you're technically not a paid member of the institution. And so it's just like, this is someone who is reaching out to you, who was like, I am in a dark spot right now. And if this is someone who you want to, like, because they said initially they had been so welcoming to her. And so this is like, if you want to continue to have this person in your family and you care for this person, why not give them the help that they've asked you for? I don't understand that.
Yeah, you can't be welcoming to them when it's convenient for press, when mm-hmm. it's convenient for the outward look of what the family should be. Mm-hmm. I don't want people to start acting, and this is one thing I hate. You can't be genuine when it's convenient. Mm. It has to be consistent. Mm-hmm. You can't do that. That's not genuine. Mm-hmm. That's not even the definition of genuine. Oh, I'm going to be genuine when it's convenient to me. No, that's selfishness. Mm-hmm. And you can't sit over there and pick and choose when you want to help somebody. If you feel compelled, for example, I had a relative go through a rough patch. Mm-hmm. And they were going through it. I felt compelled to give them my bigger clothes. Mm-hmm. Why? Because I felt compelled to do it. I didn't give them an ultimatum. I didn't sit back over here and wonder, How am I going to get paid back? If I do something for you, I do something for you. I'm not expecting a favor in return. If I do something out of the kindness of my heart for you, that's what it's for. Mm-hmm. What is genuine don't have to be written down like it's an ultimatum or it's like a checklist of things that you owe me. That's not the case. So when I went and did that, I did that out of the kindness of my heart. And the problem that I have with this particular situation, I don't know them personally, but if somebody's coming out publicly and saying this is how I felt, I can't help but to look at that family crooked in a certain type of way or look certain type of way at them, because it's like, this is somebody that is actually genuinely married into your family. Mm-hmm. If you cut through the crap, she's a genuine person. Mm-hmm. I have not heard people publicly slander her.
Nope.
Get at her, talk bad about her. I haven't heard her fans talk bad about her at all.
No, her coworker.
Not one single word.
I think like one of her coworkers on Suits spoke very highly of her, came out and defended her. She has had family who have tried to slander her name, but these are people who have she had lost contact with many years ago, who were trying to come forward and say that Meghan's not a nice person. And she's like, I haven't spoken to you in over a decade. So I wouldn't really, I don't count what they say. I know there's some people who did count what her family were saying, but for the most part, she hasn't been in any type of scandals as a celebrity. She hasn't said anything offensive about anybody. Like I said, her coworker from Suits spoke highly about her. So I don't see her as a person who is would be a troublemaking person for them. So it's just confusing to me why there seemed to be all of this isolation and dislike for her.
There could be a lot of reasons. It could be jealousy. Could be envy. Sometimes when people see true genuineness and true love given back to people that are genuine, mm-hmm. it ruffles feathers a bit. You see people's demons come out when they're not getting that. So when they see somebody else that's receiving that love and that happiness, not everybody is necessarily everybody that you ever heard that saying, not everybody that you show love to is going to show love back to you or is going to reciprocate that love to somebody else. That's just that particular could be this situation. She is a very humble, beautiful woman, great looking kids, doesn't let the status get to her head. I looked at that interview. I didn't see not one time where she acted like she was better than anybody. She was very, 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 very humble, handled it with poise and grace. And yes, she was hurt. You can definitely see that in the body language, but she kept it moving because I think it was important for her after months and months of probably holding a lot of that stuff in, just able to therapeutically get it out. Here's a scary thought. Imagine if she didn't get this out. Yeah.
Or imagine if she had been in a situation where she couldn't have left.
Yep. Yep, it's true, man. I look at close family and stuff of that nature, and it's one thing if somebody's that toxic and you're distancing yourself from them. That's a totally another situation. However, with this one, I don't understand how you could cut off security, knowing how high profile this family is. I don't understand how you can abandon your own family either. I mean, what are your thoughts on that when you heard that revelation?
I agree. Especially because in the interview, Prince Harry had mentioned that he had talked to them about, well, if you're cutting our security, has our threat level decreased? Has it changed at all? And he said, and I got a note that the threat level had not changed. So I don't understand how you could look at their family still being at risk. There's no decrease in their threat level and still say, yeah, we're still going to pull security. Especially, like I said, this is someone who, okay, Harry, I think is 7th in line to the throne, 6th or 7th. So not really in the main kind of ascending to the throne part of the line, but still, this is somebody who is still important, not just in your royal ranking, but also just as a family member. This is the Queen's grandson. Why would you pull his protection? Why would you pull his wife's protection and his son's protection? I'm like, this is the queen's great-great-grandson. Well, great-grandson, sorry. But yeah, this is still her family. So I don't understand how you could just just not have anyone there to protect them at all. That just seems very dangerous to me.
I don't understand how they could be so comfortable making that decision. And why isn't somebody blocking that decision from being made? That's another question I have. Mm-hmm. You know, it's very interesting to me because I look at this situation and go, well, somebody would never take security away from the president. Because if they did, it would look like such an underhanded job that the government would be forced to look into it and look into it hard. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand why whoever thought this was, I don't even know if they cared that this was the right thing to do. I think this was done out of spite. I think this was done out of disrespect. I think it was done for a power move to prove a point. Mm-hmm. And I think it was done just to be discouraging. And as sad as that is, it's probably the truth. Mm-hmm. I look at Harry and Meghan, and obviously they're an interracial couple. Mm-hmm. Lauren, you've known people that are either, have been in interracial dating or currently are in a racial relationship. Mm-hmm. What are some of the struggles that you have personally heard or have experienced when it comes to interracial dating as it pertains to Harry and Meghan?
Well, okay, this is a hard one for me to answer because I really don't. Like, my uncle and aunt are in an interracial marriage, and we've been nothing but supportive towards them, and their family has been supportive. So I haven't really seen anything like in my personal life that's been difficult. But I think in terms of Harry and Meghan, you're coming into a family that is like, there is nobody in this family who is brown at all. And so she comes in, and just the struggle, I think, was just the cultural struggle. The racial struggle, obviously, but then also there's the cultural struggle. You have this person who was born into privilege, who was born into this very kind of strict family. And so I think that was a huge issue for them. And also, I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
No problem. Keep going.
I think that was the main, I think not just the racial issue, but the cultural issue played a huge part in their relationship. And then the press coverage and the lack of defense that she got. There were people who said that she was straight out of Compton. There were people who said that just called her all kinds of, I saw one article that actually referred to her as a mulatto woman. And I was just horrified at that. I don't know if I could maybe find that and send that to you later, but I was just taken very aback. So you have people who their biggest struggle, I think, was the whole race mixing thing, that people were like, this is wrong and they shouldn't be like a couple and stuff like that. So I think that was kind of what it is. And people still face that regardless of what country or status that they're in. You have a lot of people who just think you should kind of stick with your own folk, which is just sad.
Yeah, it's a sad issue. So I'm gonna break it down when it comes to the interracial couples, and I'm gonna piggyback off what you said. It's a sad issue for this reason. I know several interracial couples. Some of the best weddings, some of the best people that I know are currently in an interracial relationship. Mm-hmm. The problem that I have is when it comes to people that don't support interracial couples. Imagine what these couples have to go through. Mm-hmm. There is a obvious racial barrier that makes them ask several questions of, am I going to be accepted into this family as myself?
Yes.
That is the number one question that happens, especially when it deals with a couple that is interracial. Mm-hmm. And it don't matter what combination. That is a fact.
Oh, I just thought of one. just thinking about one of the things that they had to deal with, and I think they touched on it in the interview, was just the denial of systemic racism in general was something that they had to deal, because you had people in the UK who were like, the media was having like these awful racially charged headlines about her. And then you had people going, oh no, we're not a racist country. Systemic racism is not a thing anymore. And I'm like, there was an article that put side by sides of Kate Middleton in her coverage with the exact same situations that Meghan was going through. And for example, like there was a heartwarming article about Prince William bringing Kate avocados for breakfast, for example. And then the Meghan article about avocados was like, she's eating a fruit that's causing people to like have to work in terrible conditions and people are dying in the hot sun. And I'm like, same issue, completely different coverage. Or like how Kate was wearing this coat and everyone was like, she's so fashionable and beautiful. And Meghan wore the coat by the same brand. And she was talking about how she was exploiting sweatshop workers. And so just seeing this and having her have to deal with people being like, well, systemic racism is over. She's getting this coverage just because she's married into the royal family. It has nothing to do with her being Black. I just thought that was crazy. And that was probably a huge hurdle in their relationship that they had to deal with, was just that denial that racism was still very much a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a whole nother issue, man, because let's be for real. When it comes to interracial dating, when it comes to interracial couples, both sides are going to have it bad for a number of reasons. There are people of generations older than them that are in fear of what that couple is going to have to face. Mm-hmm. Let's keep it honest. In some parts of this world still, if somebody of race A dates somebody of race B, it is going to trigger and turn heads of a racist person that does not want to see that happen. That is something that they're going to have to face on a repeated basis. If they have children, they're going to face that because they're going to be asked questions or put in one category. Mm-hmm. Well, why can't I represent both sides of my culture? Why can't I represent that proudly if I'm both? Mm-hmm. If I'm a mix of both? No, you have to be one side or the other. So now they're struggling mentally with the fact that, like I'm the blend of two cultures. I can't separate both. I can't have that, right? Mm-hmm. So that's another problem. On top of that, from an economic standpoint, they're going to be judged harder off of economic standpoint. From a background standpoint, well, why are you with this person? Oh, is it because of status? Mm-hmm. Just ignorant stuff that interracial couples have to deal with on a routine basis. Mm-hmm. And I look at the situation, man, and it just gets at me, man, because I know I have some very, very great friends that are biracial. I have very, very great friends that are in interracial couples, marriages, all that, the whole nine. Mm-hmm. And they have dealt with issues of racism on both sides. Mm-hmm. And when I look at this couple, I said, now this couple is direct royalty and should be treated as such, but because they are interracial, because they're in an interracial relationship, they are dealing with the same crap that the regular interracial couple, making middle class money has to deal with. They got to deal with the same exact thing. Mm-hmm. And it's just troublesome. It's just troublesome. I think in the future we're going to have an episode. I would like to interview a bunch of interracial couples because they know they would definitely have more answers to this. But I'm talking just from on the outside looking in. Yeah. Like I've seen so many couples go through issues of identity and culture and just being accepted in society, which shouldn't be a freaking problem. If you can accept somebody's sexual orientation, how come you can't accept somebody that's dating outside of their race? I've seen people like play with that. Like you can accept that, but you can't accept this. It shouldn't be a problem either or. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think I think that we should just I had it. I think we should be just kind of focused on just accepting everyone, because I mean, people who are of different sexualities still have trouble being accepted by their families as well. I don't see how we can look at people who are in a genuine loving relationship in general and judge that between people who are two consenting adults. I don't understand that.
Yeah, it's baffling to me. It's baffling to me. I can't sit over here and hate somebody because of the way they look or how they look it. Like, fam, this is genuine love here, and you are judging them
right
based off of what? Off of pigmentation? Like, come on, this is really ridiculous now. Yeah,
and just the fact that you have to, like you said, you have to deal with children who are interracial, have to deal with identity and just the colorism that was happening as well. Like when Meghan was touching on in the interview, they were concerned about, and she wouldn't say who. I think Oprah went on Good Morning America and said that it wasn't the Duke of Edinburgh, so it wasn't Philip, and it wasn't Queen Elizabeth who had made those comments. But she had said there were people in the room who had made comments about concerns about what Archie's skin color would be. And I'm like, that's just so archaic to me. It's like, this is 2021 and y'all are worried that the child is going to not pass the paper bag test. Like, it's baffling to me. I could see how hurt she was when she was talking about that. And you saw Oprah was angry. So that was just ridiculous to me. It's like, this is a member of your family who you should be prepared to love and be prepared to welcome into your family when he is born. And your concern is, well, how dark is this baby going to be? Is he going to look too different from the rest of us? It's like, did you plan on treating him differently if he was darker than everyone else? Or like, why would you ask that question? I feel like they should have been more concerned about, okay, how are you feeling during this pregnancy? What can we do to make sure that this baby arrives in the world happy and healthy? And what can we do to make sure that you too are also healthy in dealing with the stress of carrying this baby in the public eye? But that was disappointing. It just really was.
Yeah, it was very disheartening. It's like that. The first priority should be, what can we do to help this process of you having this child be stress-free as possible? We know there's going to be, emotional and stuff like that you may be dealing with, but we're trying to make it as stressful as possible and let us know how we can do it. Mm-hmm. As somebody that tries his best to look out for people, I try to look out my best to help people wherever they're at. Mm-hmm. So that's something that I say, well, what can we do to help to make it stress-free on you so you ain't dealing with a lot of the impact of this? What is some of the load that we can take off for you so you don't have to deal with this wholeheartedly by yourself?
Right.
That approach should be taken into account when it comes to this situation. I've only seen from a distance what a woman goes through during pregnancy and the emotions that are involved. So imagine that, and now you putting all this stress on her over what skin color the baby is going to be. Like that matters. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't matter. Like this shouldn't even be a discussion. The kid has both races in his veins. Mm-hmm. Let him celebrate both. Mm-hmm. Why the hell not? It shouldn't even be a problem. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't even be a problem at all. It's ridiculous, man. I can't believe it. Amazes me when people sit over there and go, is this going to be an issue when it comes to this? And I said, well, it's going to be an issue if you make it a bigger issue and you try to, now I get it. There are some things morally and ethically that just, if it's something that is hurting somebody else, emotionally, physically, or mentally, that's one thing. I agree on that. Now, if it's something where it's like my lifestyle is destructive towards this marriage, but I'm going to do it anyway, yeah, I'm going to have something to say about that, where it's like, you shouldn't be doing that if you really care about your marriage or you really care about what you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. Or if you're doing something that is completely hurting your cause, the positive cause you're trying to do, yeah, we're going to have a discussion on that because you need correction. But when it comes to something like this, no. Like, this is something where this child needs to know he's loved. This child needs to know he's nurtured. This child needs to know that regardless as to what mistakes he makes, that somebody is there not just to correct him, but love him through it so he can be a better contributing citizen towards society because he knows right from wrong the proper way. And if you sit over there and make this kid feel like that he is less than, even subtly, you are poisoning this child, and that is your responsibility, and that's on you. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I was glad that they were managed to get out of that situation, because I think it just would have been extremely disheartening to have this small child have to be in a family where he would have been judged because he would have looked slightly darker than everyone else. It was ridiculous to me.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Lauren, I want to thank you for stopping through and talking about this issue. To hear more about you and your content, where can people find you at?
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm glad we got to talk, especially due to the pandemic. Like I don't even get to see you anymore, which stinks. So thanks. I'm glad I got to talk to you a little bit. In terms of my content creation, I am a variety streamer. So you can find me on twitch.tv/Black Belle Flower. You can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Black Belle Flower. And on Twitter at twitter.com/BlackBelleFlow1. And I do go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead. I cut you off. My bad.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was just going to say I just stream mostly like visual novels, and sometimes we do an RPG, and a lot of times I do farming games. So that's kind of my thing.
Okay, great. Well, make sure you guys contact her, follow her. She gives great content. Make sure you check that out. Definitely, if you are looking to be entertained and checking into the stuff that she talked about, definitely look into that. I definitely appreciate you, Lauren, for stopping by. We're going to switch gears here, and we are going to have more topics for you guys right now. What's up, everybody? We have another array of topics, and with me at this time, a familiar face to Audio Airstrike, actor, comedian, and more, a content creator in his own right. Ladies and gentlemen, with me once again, Miguel Lyons is here with us. What's up, bro? How you doing?
Yo, what's good, bro?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. We might as well get right into it. Coming to America came out, the sequel. And I'll give you my honest opinion, man. I think it was a pleasant thing to watch. You know what I mean? For what it was, I didn't go into this thinking that the sequel was going to beat the original movie. I think that defeats a lot of people. I didn't go into it with that mindset. I said the first film it stands on its own. This is a continuation of a story. Do I expect that continuation to outbeat the original? No. When I look at sequels, there are very few sequels when it comes to trilogies that outbeat the first one. You know what I mean?
Right.
You look at the original Star Wars trilogy, you look at the Terminator trilogy, those are exceptions to the rule. However, with this is something a little different. You're not going to beat, let's be honest, folks, this sequel didn't beat the classic. It's a classic. You're not going to do it. And why do you think people, especially nowadays when it comes to entertainment stuff, why do you think people are quick to like do these comparisons to the point it's not even funny anymore? It's kind of annoying. Why do you think people do that?
I think the reason why people do it is because it's one of those things where, like, you know, I think so. Like when you watch a lot of the interviews for them talking about like it coming back, or it's either a sequel to an older film or an older show, or a what's it called? A reboot. It's the nostalgia, bro. Like some people just can't help but to compare, you know, the newer to the nostalgic of the originals. In a sense, like, prime example, what did we just get back? We just got back, you know, Equalizer with the TV show and Queen Latifah. You know, a lot of people try to compare her iteration of it with the Denzel movies and with the original 80s television show. You know, while it has key elements from that, it's not that in a whole, but I think it's the nostalgia piece that makes people want to compare things. Like prime example, like you said with like with the films you was talking about, it's the same thing with like Creed. You know what I'm saying? We all love Rocky. Everybody has their favorite Rocky film. Everybody has their favorite couple of Rocky films, but with Creed was done in a way that people were like, damn, like this is a whole completely different route than what I believe that people were thinking it was going to go, so, but I think it just depends on like, what film it is, because I mean, we got a new Dune movie coming out at the end of this year or, sometime this year, but remember how they trashed the original movie back in the day and was like, oh, like, it's nothing like the book or whatever the case may be. But now they're like, oh, well, this movie isn't going to beat that movie. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
It's never really, you're never really able to please audiences regardless, because it's the nostalgia of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, the only so far, like in this generation now, the only movie I've seen, only like franchises I've seen come out on top with people comparing the nostalgia is, granted it hasn't dropped yet, but Mortal Kombat, which, Mortal Kombat broke that record for, most watched red band trailer, of all time. With that, I've only seen it with what's another one? I've only seen it with like Bad Boys because, granted the gap between 2 and 3 is very, very big, but people loved it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's just a nostalgia piece, bro. Like people can't help but compare things to other things. You know what I'm saying? I think like you said, like you got to go in, seeing it as like, like just a new take on what was already standing there before. I didn't think that it was going to beat out the first movie myself, but I loved it from beginning to end. It was like I don't know, like I felt like it gave me that feeling that Black Panther gave me, seeing it again, because like you never really realize how much you miss something until you get a new iteration of it. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't realize how much because I mean I watched Coming to America, whenever. It's the same thing with like Harlem Nights or Boomerang or you name an Eddie movie out, like we didn't all watched it like a bajillion times, but I don't think anybody really realized how much you miss Coming to America until you start watching the film. It felt like Black Panther to me. I haven't seen that many African American actors like that since movies like Harlem Nights. You know what I'm saying? Like same thing with like Black Panther. Like they brought I said it in a post that I made on Facebook. Like I don't think people really understand the power that Eddie Murphy has in bringing people together. Because you got to think, when you watch Harlem Nights, you got Eddie Murphy, Red Fox,
Richard Pryor, Charlie Murphy,
DeLuise, even Tommy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Tommy from Martin, bro. Like you, Arsenio, and the list goes on, bro. Like Eddie just has like that gravitation towards him. Like you can't help but love it, bro. Like I couldn't, not to say that I wanted to, but I couldn't help but love Coming to America, dog. Like that movie was dope. Like, but to try to be like, oh, I knew it wasn't going to be better than the first. It's not supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, does a sequel always have to be better than the original film? You know what I'm saying? Like,
and people sleep on
its own.
Yeah, And people sleep on just how funny some of the new characters were. Wesley Snipes.
Bruh.
Had so many funny moments. Like, it was just, it's been a long time. Like Black Panther was a feel good movie, even though there was a lot of conflict and stuff like that. Like, just with the storyline, there was a lot of conflict amongst tribes. But with Coming to America and some of the innuendos that I was seeing, like making peace with people even though they disagree with you, like finding a common ground, learning from one another, but mixing that with just hilarious bits. Like, they could have made this really ratchet if they wanted to be. No, you got two moms that are like, and I'm not trying to give anything away, but when they're sitting over there treating each other as they treat each other, like, somebody else would have wrote that and tried to make it the most ratchet thing possible. And that's not something we needed right now. We see that enough in media.
People can't help but compare the new to the old, or the old to the new. Like, I think that's something that's going to stick with us for the rest of our time. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially with franchise, when you talk about franchises, it's always going to be, new to, like, it's always going to be comparisons, bro. Like, that's something that's never going to change in entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree. It's one of them things where these days, put your best effort forward and let the chips fall where they may. Long as you don't cut corners on your creativity. Art is meant to be criticized and meant to be, at the same time, glorified. You know what I mean? So it's one of those situations. It's bound to happen. You're bound to get a mix of both. And that's what's bound to happen. Yep. So moving on, I want to talk to you, man, because a lot of people have been up in arms. When I say a lot of people, I mainly mean millennials. Pepe Le Pew has been canceled, and they are not running any more TV projects with him. Also, Lola Bunny, she's been redesigned to not come off as over-sexualized, in their opinion, as in the past. And then 6 publications of Dr. Seuss books have been yanked from the shelf. So we'll start off with the Looney Tunes, Pepe Le Pew, and Lola Bunny. If you were going to cancel them, or cancel him, I should say, then you have to start looking at Johnny Bravo. You have to start looking at Miss Piggy. I could just list off a bunch of people that acted like the desperate romantic. That was their role. That was their comedic role in the cartoons. They were the desperate romantic looking for love. That's what the cartoon was. So when you have that situation going on, people are reading into it like, oh, they were forcing or being predatory and stuff like that and doing this and that. Remembering older cartoons from Pepe Le Pew and seeing how they animated the girl skunk to react, I might see a point here and there because of how she was reacting body language wise, but it was comedic tastefulness. Like, it wasn't like they were like showing him like smacking the girl aside the head and stuff like that. Like,
right.
It's one of those situations where, man, and the Lola Bunny one, I think it's overthinking. There was nothing wrong with the original design, in my personal opinion. I think they tried too hard to redesign her. I don't. It's almost like they got afraid of being ridiculed if they kept her the same. design wise. So, I mean, in my opinion, I think it's a little bit of a reach with Lola Bunny. Pepe Le Pew, I get. He wasn't, people remember him, but he wasn't as popular. Like, was he like as popular as Daffy Duck, Bugs Bunny, Roadrunner,
Marvin
Wally
the
Cox? Yeah, was he as popular as those people? No. So I see why not to bring him back, but it's one of those situations, man. Like, you know, like how far are y'all gonna go with this thing? Because I could start listing off a bunch of cartoons that were more creepy than him.
Okay, so like, I'm gonna try to word this without sounding unsensitive, because I'm a very blunt man.
Go ahead, say your piece.
And, you know, I definitely don't want any, you know, backlash wave to like with your platform or with mine, but I think I'm getting to that age, or we're getting to that age where like we just don't understand like their, I don't know, I feel like we're starting to become like our parents and like our parents before, you know, us, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't like these kids today try to find a fight in everything. And I don't get it. Like, it's like I can understand where they're coming from in a sense, but I don't get, like, it's cartoons.
Right.
Like, at the end of the day, bro, it's cartoons. So we're fighting now over cartoons. Like, I mean, I understand where y'all coming from, or where they're coming from, but now we're fighting over cartoons. To me, being grown and, you know, about to turn 30, that is the most idiotic thing I've ever heard in my life now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like this generation surprised me a lot more than I'm normally surprised, because they're starting to choose like how, okay, so like you're picking and choosing things. Okay. Prime example. They're also trying to do the same thing with Eminem, right? You only picked a lyric out of one song when all of his music has always been the way it's been.
But they'll turn around and they'll listen to Little Uzi Vert. They'll turn around and they'll listen to The Baby. They'll turn around and listen to Megan Thee Stallion. They'll turn around and listen to Cardi B. They'll turn around and listen to Cash Doll. But you got a problem with M?
Right. Like, so, and like, that's my thing. Like, if you're going to pick a fight that's meaningful, bro. Like, if you know, and I'm going to tie that in with the Lola Bunny thing, like, pick a fight that is meaningful. Do you know how idiotic, as like at the age that you guys are, sound about arguing over cartoons? I get that you want representation, because as a person of color, I get that wholeheartedly. But we're fighting over cartoons. Like, I could see if, you know, there was like a live action production and, you know, they do the race swap, as people call it, and, you know, people get upset about that, then, you know, that's normal. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm used to people having that, you know, race swap talk. Prime example, you know, with Superman and Lois, they're only 2 episodes in. You know, they've race swapped Lex Luthor again. Well, this is the first time live action, but, you know, we've seen race swap with characters like Lex Luthor or the Kingpin or Nick Fury. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've seen race swaps with certain characters, like, which I understand. You know what I'm saying? But we're talking about like, why does it have to be a fight over like cartoons? I get like, the representation and how you want the community to be represented or whatever the case may be, but you're talking about a children's cartoon advocating rape, a cartoon that's been around long before even our parents.
And there's not one rape scene
Right.
in the
Like,
cartoon.
so, and the way I tie that with Lola Bunny is like, the sexualized piece, I get. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, the sexualized piece, I understand. Um, because I mean, when I look back at it, I'm like, damn, yo, I don't think we should have, that part I get, but to be like, but to label that look, like they could have easily been like, okay, this is the redesign. We want to desexualize her. Cool. You could have made her, instead of like, you could have took Lola out like fully 100 and then just made her Baps from Tiny Toons. Like, it would have just been easy like that, right? But you desexualized her, but then also was like, oh, she's also non-binary. Like, I have the utmost respect for, that community and how all of that goes. But to do like stuff like this with cartoons, like, that's where you lost me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could see if they was upset about non-representation, but I don't get it when you're trying to be like, oh, like this character needs to be non-binary or this character or that character. Like,
I'm
wouldn't
gonna
you
cut in.
prefer that there's an actual character instead of like remaking an old character? Wouldn't you
Right.
rather have a new character that's non-binary? Prime example, if anybody right now is reading Future State with DC right now, there's a new Flash that's non-binary. It's a Flash, like the character's a new Flash, but a brand new like alter ego altogether. You know what I'm saying? Like, why not? Like, why not start standing up and making your own characters? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to combat all of that, start standing up. Make your own characters. Make your own companies. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why do you have to, like, and I get like in your minds, like you're fighting a good fight or whatever, but like prime example, Milestone Media, they believe that they didn't have like Milestone. The thing about Milestone Media was that there wasn't really any representation in comic books for African Americans. They took a stand and made a full-blown comic book company fully strictly based on African American superheroes, of which you still love those characters to this day. Rocket and Icon, Hardware, and everybody's favorite, I don't care who you are, Static, whether if you actually read the comics or just watched the cartoon. Like, take a stand, bro. Like, y'all are fighting. Why fight like for somebody else's company? Why can't you fight for a company that you want to create yourself? Like, why not fight for your own content? But you quick to fight somebody else on their content? That makes no sense.
how they create it. And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I feel like I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like it's create a whole lot of creative bullying going on. If I intended to make a freaking female character, that's exactly what I intended. If I intended to make a male character, that's exactly what I intended. And if some other person makes a character that is openly non-binary, if some other person makes a character that is gay, if somebody makes a character that is a certain gender or race, period, that is what they intended for them to be. Stop trying to sit over there and protest over ridiculous causes and sit over here and blast a creator that made that character specifically for kid-related stuff.
Right.
This is not. I'm getting really tired of people looking for a fight to pick up. And if you got a problem, if you're younger than me and you got a problem with what I'm saying, that's cool. Come on the show and talk about it. If you got so much, I tell people like this all the time when they go and they criticize creative stuff. If you are that appalled or appeased about the lack of representation for a certain group of people, then you create the content.
Exactly.
The heck are you waiting for? Stop whining and complaining because you don't see person A or person B in a certain role. Create those characters and create your own lane to introduce those characters, to tell those stories. I'm a straight black male. I could tell that story. It's going to be hard for me to try to tell the story of somebody that's non-binary. I don't understand it. I'm not in those shoes. So if you are non-binary, stop trying to sit over there and go to the WB's door and try to make Lola Bunny a non-binary person, and create your own non-binary characters and create a world where those characters can thrive, and create a world fiction-wise where that story can be told. Right. Period.
Like, I mean, they did the same thing with Ben 10. Like, I don't understand why. Like, I don't understand why children are already confused as children. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's one thing that I've never understood about it all. Like, you know, children are already confused. Like why cause? I wouldn't say why cause more confusion, but like, you know, I believe that people should raise their children as they see fit, not by the views of how others see fit. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why we have so much violence right now, is because people are trying to raise other people's children. Like, you're minding in other people's affairs, bro. Like, and then you get mad or upset when they tell you to like mind your own business. And like if you have your own kids, like, okay, if you had your own children and as a parent, you hear from another person that what you're doing as a parent is wrong, how would you feel, bro? Like, honestly, like, how would you feel? You know what I'm saying? Like, you wouldn't want to hear somebody else telling you that you're like, when you see a male being raised by two females, you know, and his mother's partner, and being raised by his mother and his mother's partner, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, who are you as a person to tell those two women that they can't raise a man? You know what I'm saying? Or if you have a daughter who's raised by two openly gay parents, who are you to tell that these two men can't raise no daughter? You know what I'm saying? Like, so who are you to tell people what their kids should and shouldn't watch? Like, so you're okay with, you know, games with gun violence or the shooting of people of color in such games, or, you know, how people of color are treated in in film, or like how we're always stereotyped in a certain type of way. Like, all of that is cool. But when we start touching, like in y'all area, or in that area, it's wrong. That's what I don't get, bro. Like,
It's a whole lot of hypocrisy going on. And to wrap up this topic, man, it's a whole lot of hypocrisy going on. You can't sit over here and act like the moral police. Like some of these same people that are criticizing these cartoons, if I go through their media, I can easily find a lyric or a song that's offensive to somebody in some way, shape, or form. Like, you guys have got to stop doing this. I think it's rather ignorant to turn around and judge somebody strictly from your view, and you don't take anybody else's viewpoint into consideration. Like, it's a vast world out here, and not everybody thinks the same, and some people don't realize that.
Like, I don't want people to believe that, like, like, and I feel the same way about people of color who tell other people of color or people of non-color, like, they're wrong for not, like, people have their own belief system, bro. I'm not here to, change anybody's mind, bro. People going to have their own belief system at the end of the day. But who am I to tell you what to believe in and what not to believe in? Everybody, you feel wronged, like, or it's the same thing with, like, religion, bro. Like, who am I? Like, if I'm a devout something of another religion, like, how can another religion tell me that my belief is wrong? You feel what I'm saying? Like, I think it's wrong for people to tell other people what to believe in and what not to believe in. You know what I'm saying? Just like it's like, bruh, all people have to do is sit down and educate one another. Like, how can that, and like, if people want to still be blind to it, cool, that's on them, bro. But it's not your fight to try to fight for the people who don't want to, like, understand, bro. Like, there's people who have who want that understanding to try to understand. And I think the problem with today's generation is, like, they're just about fighting and not understanding. Excuse me. They're not about the understanding piece. Like, help people understand why you feel the way you feel and why this character should be the way you want it to be. Or just go out and create that content for yourself. Like, there's more, there's more people in this world than people would like to believe that want to just understand, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, definitely. Speaking of offenses, one thing we can agree on, Andrew Cuomo does not want to resign after several sexual allegation.
Dog, he's whole wrong. I don't care what nobody say. Ain't nobody gonna tell me different. He wrong. Period. Like, you can't, bro. You can't tell me that several women have the same exact story or close to the same exact story, but you ain't do nothing. Come on, son. Like that's kind of how I feel about, like, when the stuff went down with Bill Cosby. Like, I have the utmost like, the thing about Bill Cosby is, like, when they said, when all those stories came out, but you got to look at the time that Bill was out in, and, like, how some of them victims were, not women of color. Like, back in his times, bruh, it didn't matter if you was famous or not. If you even looked at a woman wrong, a white woman wrong, you was a dead man walking. It didn't matter how famous you were. You know what I'm saying? Like, it did. Like, you can't. So you know, bruh, the stuff that goes on in this world, I just don't get.
Yeah, I'm gonna make this short and sweet. If you are dealing with sexual allegations and refuse to step down, it is not. It tells a lot about that person more than it tells about the victims.
Facts.
Like, and to think a year ago, this dude was looked at as an example, a banner for how to defend the issues going on with the pandemic looming. And now you look back at this and now it's like, well, good grief. What the heck were we cheering him for? What the heck were we cheering him on for if he was doing this underneath it all? The problem is, man, you got people in these political positions that will sit over here and do the thing, and that will sit over here and do these things because they think they can get away with it, and they think they got that political clout that can protect them. When the reality of it is, it's not. We are in a day and age where women are not afraid to speak out about this stuff. It may take some time to heal. It may take some time to get their mental health together, but they are not afraid to speak out. This is not the 80s. This is not the 90s. This is not even the 2000s. We are in the 2020s. And the reality of the situation is they're not afraid to speak out. And if you do something that's egregiously wrong.
Women are so strong, bro. Like, women put up with a part of my language, women put up with so much shit, dude. Like when women go through stuff like that, they bury it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like when you see a veteran who's come from war and, you know, they end up with PTSD and all of that and all of the stuff that comes with war, like, they try to bury it. You know, women deeply bury it until one woman stands up and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. You know what I'm saying? Continue to stand up. Like dirty people like this dude, bro. Like, y'all, like, you have to stand up, bro. Because, like, if you don't stand up for yourself, who is going to stand? You have to stand up for yourself first before you can stand up for anybody else. You know what I'm saying? I fully believe that, like, to do what you want to do in this world, bro, you have to stand up for yourself first. Like, because how can everybody else believe in you if you don't believe in you? Regardless of how hard it is. And I know these women are hurting when they tell these stories, bro. Like, I had a similar situation with a friend of mine, and I know she's hurting. I knew she was hurting, bro. But who am I to come forward and tell her story? She has to want to tell her story, and she did. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Like, women can only come to, like, for the people that deal with these situations, it is not our place to tell that woman's story. That woman has to stand up on their own 2 feet and tell their own story. Like, tell us. We want to hear. We want to know. What can we do? How can we help? You know what I'm saying? Like, you want something done? Like, tell your story and we go do it, bro. Like, it's a done deal. Like, women are tired. Women are tired of being looked over. They're tired of being
constantly disrespected, undermined, degraded.
Undermined. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's in every field. It's not just the political field. Like, it's in every field, bro. Like this country is known for treating its women in a degrading way through history, bro. Like, we in this country, bro, we've seen, like, if it ain't about the color, then it's about the race. Or if it ain't about the race, it's about the gender. If it ain't about the gender, it's about the sexual orientation. It's always something. Like I don't when you look at our America's history, bro. It's always something, bro, and it's not fair. That's what I like. It's just not fair, bro. How are we now we're in 2021, and how are you letting these people just slide? Bruh, he did wrong, bruh. I don't get it. You did wrong. Prime example, he literally said, "Oh, my regular talking banter is, oh, are you single? What is that that's not your business." That's
Repeat
not regular
that?
work talk.
Hold on. Repeat that because your phone went off. I don't know what's going on. You got an icon that keeps popping up.
Oh, hold on. I was saying and so I watched the little clip that they had, or I had watched a couple of the videos they had about him talking, and in one of his clips, it was he was regular talking banter for him at his job is who the woman is dating. How was that any of your business, bro? That is that's some of the oddest stuff. Unless you real close with that person, which I highly doubt that he's close with these women. How was that regular work talking banter? Banter? That makes no sense.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. He needs to get a hold of that, figure out something. That's just disgraceful. Anyway, we're gonna move on to another topic. Reseller son of ex-Nike VP uses employer store discount for his business source. I'm going to just read this, a couple sentences or less after that, because this thing is wild. Scandal shook Nike this week as Ann Herbert, an employee of 25 years who most recently served as vice president of the brand's North American business, resigned from her position following a Bloomberg Businessweek story uncovering her son's sneaker resale operation. The bombshell piece focused on West Coast streetwear, an Oregon-based business run by Herbert's 19-year-old son, Joe, who was selling upwards of, get this, $200,000 a month in sneakers at one point. Sources tell Complex, this is exactly the verbiage I got from complex.com. Sources tell Complex that part of the operation was including buying up the discount Nike product from brand company stores formerly known as the employee store, to which only Nike employees, their friends and family, and those with a guest pass have access in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon. I'm going to be very short and sweet on this. If you know that you are the son of a Nike VP, you better come up with a better creative scheme to make a whole lot of money off sneakers. You can't be using an employee store discount with somebody that works for Nike that you're related to. It's bad business.
And then try to act like they ain't gonna track it.
Right. It's all trackable information, especially now. You know how hard it is to steal from somebody now? Everything is trackable. Everything is digital. Everything is recorded. It's ridiculous.
Even when you do stuff like that, your employee discount will pop up under that name. Oh boy, what did he think was going to happen? You knew it was wrong to begin with. What do you think was going to happen? Oh, I didn't know. You can't play that card. You knew what was up.
They're gonna catch on eventually. Hopefully, he learned a lesson and actually does a sustainable business without pulling shiesty moves like that. I'm a type person, man. If you pull a shiesty move on me or my business, I'm not dealing with you anymore. I'm at that age where I'm not going to go back and forth with people. I'm just going to cut people off. And it wouldn't surprise me that when people get wind of who this kid is, now look, yeah, I get it. He's 19. But sometimes you got to really go through a serious consequence to really stay grounded and learn from your mistakes. So, it's one of those situations where
shoot, in the eyes of the law, bro, 19 is, you a grown man.
Oh, yeah. In some cases, yeah, it's true.
Like, in the eyes of the law, 19 years old, that's it. Like,
yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's true, man. It's definitely true. But let's get down to this last topic, and I'm just kind of curious as to what your thoughts is about it, because people are going to go back and forth about this. I'm going to get your thoughts on this, Miguel. Verzuz is now sold to Triller. Mm-hmm. Timbaland and Swiss Beats are now shareholders of Verzuz. Timbaland and Swiss Beats, who competed in the first Verzuz and continued to host battles, became Triller shareholders as a result and have split their stake in Triller among 43 artists who have performed on Verzuz so far. Mm-hmm. So now, the 43 artists that performed plus Timbaland and Swiss Beats now have stakes in Triller with the acquisition of Verzuz.
And they should.
I think this is a smart move.
Facts.
I think this is a smart move.
Ain't nobody really doing much of anything. I mean, songs are still dropping. You know what I'm saying? But if you look before the pandemic, like now, people who wouldn't necessarily catch up in the studio are catching up through Verzuz. Like, still, to me, my favorite Verzuz, hands down, I don't care what nobody say, is the Erykah Badu and the Jill Scott. You know how long as a singer that I've been waiting for something like that? The longest. That was the best Verzuz. That is my favorite Verzuz out of any other one. Like, I don't care. Like, man, that Verzuz was the chillest but coldest like Verzuz I've ever seen in my life. Like, they were doing jokes that we talk about day to day. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's why I love Verzuz so much, because it's those day to day conversations that we have when we just chilling with our peoples. Like, oh, who do you think is better? Such and such artist or such and such artist? That's how I see Verzuz. You know what I'm saying? And and it's smart to, because they've been keeping it going, bro. Like, Tim and Swizz been keeping this joint going, bro. Like, and now it's giving people the ideas to go out of the box and work with artists that they ain't never really worked before or didn't think about working with before. I'm not saying that some of them ain't thought about working with each other, but through time, like, they just didn't have the time to do so. Like, prime example, like, now you got Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak with their group, Silk Sonic. Like, bruh, that first song, like the song that they just dropped last week, one of the coldest I've heard in a minute. Like, it sounded like some old, back in the day R&B love music type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
and the one thing I like about what they do is they pay homage. Just like in Verzuz, they pay homage to those that have left a legacy, and you can't shake that. Like, here's the thing that people need to be educated on when they hear people selling a brand to this company, but in return, you're a shareholder of said company. Mm-hmm. Here's what people need to understand. When you sell your brand to a company, but you get a decent share of the actual company. We complain as African Americans that we don't get a seat at the table. But then when somebody gets a seat at the table, and in order for them to get the seat at the table, they may have to, work out a deal where part of the percentage of their brand that they created is sold. Right. We are quick to sit over there and say they sold out. How? Do you know what that does if they get a seat at the table as a shareholder? Do you know how many more opportunities that opens up? Do you know if a part of that brand is percentage that is African American owned? Do you know that they have to listen to what those shareholders say about representation, about what is the point of angling a certain thing this way or doing that? Now you have more shot callers in the room that look like you, that'll fight for you. And that's what we need at times. So I'm not mad about this at all. I'm not going to sit over here and talk about, I'm not going to sit over here and blast them and say, they're black owners, but they're quick to sell something. Fam, do you want people in those shareholder seats that look like you or you don't? Which one is it? Because the black entrepreneur can't win. If he sells a piece of his business, he's a sellout. If he gets a seat at the table, he's a sellout. If he starts his own business, but his clientele don't look like him, he's a sellout. Right. Which one is it? Which one is it? We got to stop doing this to each other, man. It's getting ridiculous.
Look how they treated Robert Towson back in the day, bro. You're talking about a black man who literally, like everything, like I think Robert Towson is probably one of the most underrated actors of all time.
He don't get his flowers for starting.
Oh my God, bro! Don't get me wrong. He used to rock with Eddie and everybody, but that man literally was black owned everything. Like, are we just gonna forget that? Like he he had some of the biggest names rolling with him. Faison Love, prime example. Like, we just gonna forget that? You know what I'm saying? Like, Come on, son. Like, it's like, as a person of color, you can't, like, being a black man, you cannot win with it's either you're being too white or you're not doing enough for the community. You know what I'm saying? Like, or just like what you were saying, like, it's like we want a seat at the table, but then we a sellout if we get that seat at the table. You know what I'm saying? They've been dirtying Ice Cube's name for him trying to do what he want to do. People like people who have literally like fought for the way like that we do things, like somehow they're a sellout because they found a better route than going through some of the hardships that come with it. At the end of the day, we still are black men and women. Like, if we don't fight for us, then there ain't nobody else gonna fight for us, bro. Like, who gonna fight for us if we don't?
Yeah, and that's something we got to work on, man. It's one of those situations where we have to stop being so critical amongst ourselves, because if we really look at the whole situation and we really turned around and really put ourselves in someone else's shoes, we will realize this is a major problem and a major issue, and it's something we got to correct. Mm-hmm. Something we definitely got to correct. So, hey, man, I want to thank you for coming on the show, man. Definitely appreciate you stopping by.
Anytime, man. I love being up on the show, bro.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Definitely. So, we want to thank you guys for listening to this episode. We definitely appreciate it. For those of you who want to check out anything that Miguel has going on in terms of his acting, you can get in contact with him. For those of you, if he's also an actor, ladies and gentlemen. So if you need COVID pending, of course, and safety matters. So, hit him up with respect.
Hey, look, man, look, I'm like man, look, I'm the one, like, period. I'll be there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm that dude. Like, I'm gonna be like, if I say I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna be there, period. Like, I understand we in a pandemic, but when there's a project to be done and a vision to be, created, bro, I'm there 100%. Like, so
yeah, absolutely.
call on me.
Yep, absolutely. So with that said, this has been another edition of Audio Airstrike. I'm Everett Hall-McNeill. Thank you for listening.